8 threads, 1 machine, 8 physical cores waiting to work. You paid for 8. Python is using 1. 7 of them are asleep. This isn't a broken script. It's not a bad benchmark. This is Python doing exactly what it was designed to do. There is a single lock inside the interpreter, and whoever holds it is the only thread allowed to run. Everyone else waits. Here's the part nobody tells you when they complain about it. That lock isn't a bug. It's the load-bearing wall holding Python up. 7 cores asleep, 1 maxed out, and the engineers who built this language know. They've known for 30 years. So why has nobody just removed it? Take it out and things fall down. And for a quarter of a century, nobody knew how to remove it without paying for it. So let's do the thing everyone skips. Let's actually look at what this lock is, why it's there, and what it quietly costs you every single day. It has a name. The Global Interpreter Lock, the GIL. Read it backwards and it explains itself. It's a lock, a mutex, one thing at a time. It belongs to the interpreter, the part of Python that actually runs your code. And it's global, there's exactly one of it for the entire process. Every line of Python you write becomes bytecode. And to execute bytecode, a thread must hold the GIL. Only the holder runs. Everyone else is frozen, waiting their turn. The interpreter passes that lock around, thread to thread, every few milliseconds. So it looks like your threads are running together, but at any single instant, on any number of cores, exactly one thread is executing Python. 1. Always. That's not a performance tuning problem. That's the rule. So the obvious question, why would anyone design a language to work like this on purpose? And here's the turn. The GIL was never really about threads. It's about how Python remembers to forget things. See, Python cleans up memory using something called reference counting. Every object carries a number. How many things are currently pointing at me? Assign the object somewhere, the count goes up. Delete a reference, it goes down. The moment that number hits 0, nothing is using it, and Python frees the memory instantly. Now put 2 threads on it. That counter is just a number in memory, and increasing it isn't one single step for the machine. Read the value, add 1, write it back. 3 steps. 2 threads do that at the same time, and their steps interleave. Both read 3. Both write 4. You just lost a reference that existed. The count is now wrong, and a wrong reference count is not a small bug. It means Python frees memory that's still in use, or leaks it forever. Crashes, corruption, the kind you can't reproduce. There were 2 ways to make that safe. Put a tiny lock on every object, millions of them, each one slowing everything down. Or put one big lock around the whole interpreter and be done with it. They chose the cheap one. One global lock. Simple, fast for a single thread, and it made the whole reference counting system safe overnight. That decision was made in 1992, when Python first grew threads. You're still running it today. So what does this actually cost you? It depends entirely on what your code is doing. There are 3 cases, and they could not be more different. Case 1. CPU-bound work, number crunching, image processing, tight loops. This is where it hurts. Your threads all want the lock to do math, but only one can hold it. You spin up 8 threads and get the speed of 1, plus the overhead of passing the lock around. Sometimes threads make it slower. Case 2, I/O-bound work, waiting on a network, a disk, a database. Here the GIL basically doesn't matter, because while a thread sits waiting for data, it lets go of the lock. Another thread grabs it and works. So for scraping, web servers, API calls, threads in Python work great. The lock is released exactly when nobody needs to run anyway. Case 3, C extensions. Libraries like NumPy do their heavy lifting in C, and C code is allowed to explicitly hand the lock back before it starts. That's the secret behind fast Python. The moment the real work leaves Python and enters C, the lock steps aside, which tells you something uncomfortable. The way to make Python fast in parallel is to stop running Python. NumPy doesn't get around the GIL. It gets out of Python into C, where the lock never mattered in the first place. Breakdowns like this one take time to research and build. If they're worth something to you, there's a Patreon. It's what keeps this channel independent. Back to the lock. For a quarter of a century, the community couldn't remove the lock. So instead, they built an entire industry of ways to get around it, and every single one is the same admission in disguise. Workaround 1. Multiprocessing. Don't use threads, use separate processes. Each process is a fresh Python with its own private lock, so they genuinely run in parallel. But separate processes don't share memory. So anything you want to pass between them has to be copied, serialized, shipped across. You got your cores back, and you paid for it in overhead and complexity. Workaround 2. Rewrite the slow part in Python or in C. Take your hottest loop out of Python entirely so it can release the lock like NumPy does, or you leave. Rewrite the hot path in Rust, in Go, in C, and call it from Python. That's not a workaround, that's surrender with extra steps. Look at all three together. Multiprocessing dodges the lock with separate processes. Python dodges it by leaving Python. Rewrites dodge it by not being Python at all. Nobody removed the wall. They just kept finding ways to walk around it. Because removing it was supposed to be impossible. People had tried to kill the lock before. A project called the Gilectomy spent years on it and failed because the atomic operations it needed made single-threaded Python so slow nobody would have shipped it. This time was different. Python 3.13 shipped an experimental build with No-GIL. Python 3.14 in October 2025 made it officially supported, free-threaded Python. And the catch is in how you get it. It isn't a flag on your normal Python. It ships as a separate build, a binary called Python 3.14t. You have to opt into it on purpose. Run your 8 threads on this, and finally, all 8 cores light up. The 7 sleepers wake up. This is the thing people wanted for a generation. But remember why the lock existed. That reference counter still has to be safe. Take away the one big lock, and now every one of those counters on every object has to protect itself individually. Making a counter safe without a global lock means making each update atomic, a special, heavier instruction that costs more every time. And Python touches those counters constantly. Every assignment, every function call, millions of times a second. So here's the twist nobody puts on the headline. Removing the lock made single-threaded Python slower. On 3.13, the first experimental build, about 40% slower. On 3.14, with a lot of clever engineering, they clawed that back to 5 to 10%. Better, but still not free. The very thing that made the GIL cheap in 1992 is the thing that makes removing it expensive today. Because nothing here was free. There's a bill, and almost nobody reads it. Line 1. Single-thread performance. Every atomic counter update is a tax you pay whether you use extra cores or not. Line 2. Compatibility. Thousands of C extensions were written assuming the lock existed to protect them. Take it away, and they have to be rebuilt and rechecked to be safe. The entire ecosystem has to catch up. So the GIL was never a free lunch that Python finally canceled. It was a bill that got paid up front in 1992 and stayed quiet for a quarter of a century. Removing it didn't erase the cost. It just moved it off the calendar and onto your single-threaded code. It's easy to call the GIL a mistake, a 25-year embarrassment, but that's the comfortable version. The honest one is harder. The GIL was never a threading decision. It was the price of one specific choice about how to manage memory, reference counting, made when a single core was all anyone had. Everything you felt fighting Python's threads for years was the shadow of that one decision, cast forward across 3 decades. And here's the thread worth pulling. Counting references is just one way for a language to clean up memory. It's the reason the lock existed at all, but it hides a second cost, one that has nothing to do with threads, and that most Python developers have never even heard of. The other way to clean up memory freezes your whole program instead. That's the next video. Python never stops the world. It pays a different bill. Same runtime, different invisible bill.